When you finally come to, you realize that you are on the floor of the local diner with some friendly faces around you. McFadden, Lazy Susie, Mayor Terry, Sandy, and Frenda help you up.
We're so glad that you're finally awake. How are you feeling?
We made sure to stay quiet so you could get your rest.
We pulled you out of the Cypher Squad hideout when the Ultra Beast started its rampage.
Luckily, Lazy Susie's is still in one piece, but the rest of Twin Falls isn't doing so well. McFadden, do you want to explain what's going on?
He leads you outside, and you are immediately greeted by a crimson sky. Everything is dark and chaotic.
You see, when Wilfred Pines brought that legendary Ultra Beast into our dimension, he started using its power to corrupt our dimension. He's been pulling in Ultra Beasts from all over, and they're destroying the region. Oh, and worst of all, your friends and family are still under their mind control influences. Maple, Professor Pines, Moose, and Cordelia are out there heading up some of that destruction.
It's really not looking so good out there. Some of the townspeople already abandoned Twin...
But we couldn't do that. We knew we needed to stay and fight back.
And with my diner still intact, it's serving as a makeshift base for our ragtag group. My old radio is even picking up distress calls from people in need around the region. Let me mark where they are coming from on your map.
Lazy Susie taps a bit on your phone and a number of icons appear.
And there's another way we can fight back. I've been tinkering with some of those mind control collars that you took from the Cypher Squad base. If I was able to get another 4 of these, I think I could make a device that would cancel out the ultra wormhole energy overtaking our dimension. But the only other ones I know of are on your friends. I've tracked them to here.
McFadden also taps on your phone and adds 4 more icons to your map. You look over all of your options and think it best to save some of the people in need. A cluster of 5 people to the west seems like a good place to start. And lastly, before you go, McFadden upgrades all of your Pokeballs. From now on, any Pokeball you throw is now able to catch Ultra Beasts. You head out into this weird Armageddon going on. All of the existing Pokemon, like Violet, Shockatrice, and Tragikarp, are quite panicked and hostile. But in addition to them, wild Ultra Beasts are roaming about, and you spot a Beholdrake and Vigilta off in the distance. When you reach the shore of the Western Lake, a new Pokemon scuttles out and eyes you. Time for an evolution to the tiny little dragon type, Tendrip. So this line is based off the Lao, and while the first stage paid homage to the fact that it is sometimes depicted as a massive catfish, other depictions have it like more draconic with a Cthulhu-like face. So this middle stage gets to bridge that gap. The 2 fins that it was dragging its body around with have now become elongated and strong enough for it to sprint about on dry land. We're also taking the 2 whiskers it had and multiplying them to get, something a little closer to that eldritch horror look. Beyond that, it has some sharper shape language to communicate a more aggressive personality. And yeah, let's go ahead and learn all about Loudrill, the Whisker Pokemon. Standing on 2 powerful fins, this water type is now able to sprint across the land to chase prey, which it then drags back into the water with its grasping whiskers. Hard plating has formed to protect their squishy bodies when out of the water. Loudrill are wild and untrusting, requiring a skilled trainer to befriend. The ability is Swift Swim, which boosts speed in the rain, and the hidden ability is Tangling Hair. Its mouth tendrils wave about in a threat display. Now's your chance to catch one of these, or perhaps you had a Tendrip which has already evolved into one of these speedy hunters. Hopping into your Rotom Shift kayak and paddling out into the water, you spot something massive circling you. Alrighty, time for the final stage to our Lusca line. This is the Caribbean monster, which is a wonderful amalgamation of squid or octopus and shark. I went back and forth on what this final stage should really look like, but I liked the through line that biologically this is a cephalopod that has gotten better and better at appearing like a shark. Getting a little creative with the physiology, splitting the mantle to get a mouth, and tying the tentacles in a fun way, we get a pretty awesome shark body plan. The negative space in the body cavity is pretty unexpected, and the split lower jaw still feels kind of messed up, which is good. The colors have that classic Pokemon shark yellow, and you know that we're going to continue our shiny pattern with Garchomp colors. Okie doke. Let's check out the most messed up shark ever. This is Leviathan, the false shark Pokemon. Having mastered its shark-like appearance, this apex predator fears nothing in the Hoaxian waters. Leviathan is able to uncoil its dorsal and pectoral fins in an instant to snare prey and drag them into its toothed maw. While ferocious, they are still very loyal to their trainers and make for an unconventional but speedy aquatic transportation. The ability is Contrary, which makes stat changes have the opposite effect, with the hidden ability being Suction Cups. It's pretty terrifying seeing its tentacle fins slicing through the waters toward you. A few powerful electric-type attacks are luckily able to deter it, and you continue on. You come across a group of Blippicle, who all look shaken by everything going on. Their fear is causing them to all clump together, and to your surprise, you see them begin to evolve into one Pokemon. Yep, we've got another one of those multiple Pokemon fusing together for an evolution. In this case, you could do this on your own if you have 6 Blippicle in your party at once. Now, while Blippicle was based on the Ningen, we're continuing into another icy aquatic monster, the Bloop. Now, the Bloop is a ridiculously powerful sound that was recorded underwater and often attributed to an undiscovered colossal creature. Now, in reality, it was the sound of a frozen ice shelf breaking apart. That's why we're maintaining the ice type, but also pulling in the normal type so it can enjoy some nice sound-based stab moves. The other influence that you may have noticed, especially with this weird spine on top, are siphonophores, or communal organisms like the Portuguese man-o'-war. Yes, I know jellyfish and the man-o'-war are not really related like that, but hey, it's Pokemon, so we're doing it here. Okay, let's check out Bloomp, the frozen sound Pokemon. When a group of Blippicle spend enough time together and learn to act as one, they evolve into this frozen titan. Its constituent parts communicating with one another lets out massive amounts of sound, which can sometimes be picked up from across the Hoax region. While gargantuan, it is still just as friendly as ever, which sometimes leads to their trainers getting a little squished. Its ability is Icy Body, so that means it gains HP in the snow weather, and its alternate abilities are Snow Cloak and Slush Rush. It waves at you with a smile, feeling much safer in this massive form. You wave back and continue on, wondering what could have put it on edge in the area. You get to the far side of the lake, and you hear shouts coming from a cave nearby. The citizens of Twin Falls must have taken shelter in here, but something massive has trapped them and is blocking your way. A legendary Ultra Beast turns to face you. Alrighty, with the Ultra Wormhole open, there are 4 legendary level Ultra Beasts on the loose. We're going with a very loose interpretation of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The first we're seeing is War. Now, I knew I wanted at least one design in this region to be based off of something from the US state where I live. Now, I'm not originally from Minnesota, and in fact, I have lived in a lot of places before settling down here, but I love Minnesota. It's great, and I wanted a fun nod to it. One of the silliest bits of folklore are the Kensington runes. This is a stone tablet which proposedly shows that Vikings were in the Americas like ridiculously early. It's of course a big old hoax, but it's still fun. We're combining that with the look of our local stadium, which is an abstracted take on a Viking ship. Smush all of that together and we get a pretty formidable Ultra Beast. Alright, let's go ahead and meet Kinvidax. The warrior Pokemon. UB Vessel prefers to sleep at the bottom of murky lakes, but will stomp to the surface to challenge anything unfortunate enough to get its attention. In its home dimension, Kinvedax rules by fear alone. The local denizens dump food and treasure into the water where it resides, in hopes of lengthening its slumber and delaying its next destructive visit. The ability is something new called Dredge, so that means it will pick up any single-use items that have been used by other Pokemon during the duration of the battle. And the hidden ability is Beast Boost. It swings its heavy arms at you, and you are forced to dodge out of the way as it smashes into the cave wall. You know that you have to act fast before this Ultra Beast collapses the whole cave. It is incredibly powerful, but you manage to weaken it, and with your upgraded Pokeballs, you even have a slim chance to capture it. With it gone, the 5 identical members of many instances rush out to thank you.
Hey, yo, you did it! Yo, we're totally in your debt! That was some mad fresh Pokemon battling, dog! I was straight up ready for death up in here! We'll head back to Lazy Susie's diner, dog! Thanks again!
The hip young men run off, and you check your map for the next icon. Taking a look at your map, you see that by heading south of your current location, you should be able to find one of your mind-controlled friends. Though all you have to go off is a ghost-type icon in the graveyard. You pass by a Pokécenter on the way, and though abandoned, you are still able to use it to heal up your Pokemon. The fog-filled forest is particularly unsettling to pass through, as the mist is now an unappealing red, and the Pokemon are more aggressive now. In fact, it seems as though many ghost-type Pokemon from the entire region are all here, running and flying about in a flurry. They are circling around a figure standing just ahead.
Oh, hey dude. I didn't expect to see you out here. I guess I'm being all mind-controlled and junk. Hehe, it's pretty wild. But I'm having a blast working these ghost types into a destructive army. I'm thinking we'll eventually march on the rest of the world and spread fear and terror. That sounds pretty cool, right?
You know that you need to get that mind control collar off of Moose. Not only to save your friend, but also to give that valuable tech to McFadden, who needs it to fashion a device capable of restoring the region to its pre-apocalyptic state. It seems that this is going to be a double battle as Moose sends out 2 Pokemon. First is a Phasbogor, whose Ghost and Steel typing is a bit of a pain. Next to it is a little curveball with the tiny Kakurasai. This electric type seems very unsure about the battle. It keeps glancing back at Moose with a worried expression, and it actually refuses a couple of Moose's commands. You feel a little bad, but you will take all the help you can get in saving your friend. You manage to knock out both of these Pokemon, and Moose sends out 2 new species. The first is the evolution to Resnick, an evolution that will only take place if you have both it and Stitchum in your party at the same time. So let's see what happens to Resnick if a Stitchum gets to work on its look. So this line started off based on the Fresno Nightcrawlers, which are silly little spooky pants wandering around. But we're going to introduce another monstrous influence, a very classic monster, in fact, as we're looking at a Universal Pictures classic with the Invisible Man. You could definitely also lump in any of the other invisible, ghostly cryptids in there. I mean, there's a few out there, but with this look I'm going for, it's very Invisible Man. So in addition to the full Fresno Nightcrawler pants, we get gloves, bow tie, and suspenders, and the suspenders in particular really work for the bandaged Invisible Man look. By using the buttons and the abdomen wraps, I was able to maintain an abstracted face, but I don't know, it's still kind of nebulous. You know, where's the head? Like, is it the straps and the buttons, or is the head invisible and up above where the shoulders should be? All right, let's learn all about Frantaloon, the hidden Pokemon. If a Lil Resnick spends enough time around a Stitchum or Pinum, it is able to upgrade its wardrobe and evolve. There still is no consensus on whether the clothing is being haunted or manipulated by an invisible Pokemon, but Frantaloon is a playful and energetic Pokemon. Their dance moves are unrivaled in the Hoenn region. The ability is Prankster, which gives priority to status moves, and the hidden ability is Mummy with those fun straps. It hops around the battlefield gracefully, using its Prankster ability to hit your team with some really debilitating moves. And their weird typing is also kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. Next to it, Moose has another curveball with the evolution to Little Violet. So it is time for our wee little spider to actually look like a Jorogumo. This is a yokai that is basically a terrifying spider woman. Of course, continuing with the first stage, we're maintaining the look of a Blacklight, both because I think it's cool, and with this being Gravity Falls, I needed a Blacklight just to, reference the show a little more. Now, in addition to just making the light itself brighter, I wanted to introduce more Japanese influences since it is a yokai after all. So moving up from the light bulb socket, we get a band and multiple collars to reference a kimono. And then the face has some dramatic makeup and is all topped off with a little hair bun. I don't think it's too over the top, but I like that with the colors in particular, it's still pretty dramatic. And for colors, I like how the shiny turned out. Now, my initial idea was that it would look like a regular light bulb, but in switching the palette, it ended up looking just golden, which is pretty neat. Okay, let's meet Aracuv, the dark glow Pokemon. The long legs of this crafty spider do their best to protect the delicate abdomen, which is capable of producing blinding flashes of ultraviolet light or drawing in all light nearby. Aracuv manipulates the battlefield with dancing shadows and eerie lights, expertly supporting its allies and disorienting its opponents. The ability is still Tinted Lens, which powers up not very effective moves, and the hidden ability is Battery. It springs onto the battlefield and immediately begins setting up screens and other beneficial effects. These two Pokemon help one another and chip away at your team. You work hard and finally manage to feint them both. Moose sends out his final two Pokemon, the first being a Tiwi, which doesn't seem too tough to deal with. And the last Pokemon is the evolution to Little Stitchum, which of course is only able to evolve by helping either a Resnick or Frantaloon with its look. So our ghostly doll, which was based on the usually helpful Jenglot, is now turning into a full-on tailor or a seamstress. Now we're still sprinkling in some voodoo doll inspiration and letting it look creepy as heck. Like the stuffing falling out of the head still, that's an aesthetic that I want to maintain. But these pins, oh man, I love them. Not only are they pretty menacing, but they work for it basically being a costumer. My favorite of which is, the pin that's going right through the back of the neck. Creepy, gross, cool. Yeah, I think it's good. There's not a ton to say about this one. It's just cool. Okay, let's say hello to Pinum, the ghost doll Pokemon. While this joyful Pokemon is still eager to help with daily chores, especially sewing clothes, it has now mastered combat and will reluctantly take down foes with its sharp needles. Pinum appreciates a trainer who can see past its somewhat spooky appearance and regularly patches their clothes with spooky patterns. The ability is still Insomnia, which keeps it from being put to sleep, and the hidden ability is Pickup. Its sharp pins gleam, and you wonder if it will launch some ghost, normal, or steel moves at you. Instead, it does something unexpected. Being a single point faster than its partner Tiwi, Pinum uses the move Decorate to sharply raise both of Tiwi's attack stats. Tiwi, in turn, uses Self-Destruct. The boosted stab normal type attack doesn't affect Pinum at all, but decimates your team. As you try to recover from this brutal strategy, Moose has grasped a Beast Merge gem and has begun fusing with his final Pokemon. Alright, Moose just kinda has to have a silly Beast Merge form. So this is a reference to a few things. Obviously, this is a Final Fantasy VII reference, with it very much being Cloud. I knew I wanted to do a big metal sword to riff off of Pinum's pins. Now, this is also because Moose, or Seuss, is just a big nerd who loves anime and video games. You can think of this design as basically Pinum helping Moose cosplay, and I think that's fun. And lastly, the thing that sealed the deal is that when the Book of Bill came out, there was a website, and on it, Seuss revealed his favorite game, which was Sword Birth, Rise of the Swordians, Age of Swords. So after that, I just had to give Moose a great big old sword. Definitely the deepest Gravity Falls reference that we've done so far. All right, let's check out Beast Merge Pinum, the Sword Guardian. The Pokemon unravels its body and covers its trainer in a protective costume, complete with a ridiculously heavy sword. Somehow, the trainer is able to swing the sword with ease, defying the laws of mass and inertia to deal powerful strikes. After unfusing, the trainer can't help but sulk about dramatically like a video game protagonist. The ability is something new called Parry. So, half of the damage that it would receive from fighting type attacks is dealt back to the attacker. So that normal and steel type that it has ends up really potentially hurting the opponent. He is slow but extremely strong, and you learn the hard way not to throw a fighting attack its way. You remember back to the beginning of your journey when Moose went easy on you during your first type specialist battle. Now he is cleaving through the last of your team. With one final push, you manage to defeat Moose. He collapses to the ground, and you take the opportunity to remove his mind control collar. As you do, the frenzy of ghosts around you disperses.
Whoa, dude. I cannot thank you enough. I know this is gonna be hard to believe, but I didn't actually want to create a ghost army to terrorize the world. So, what do you want me to do with this mind control collar? I need to take it back to McFadden? Yeah, I can totally do that.
Moose takes the control collar marked with the ghost symbol and leaves for Lazy Susie's diner. You check your map for the next person in need. Checking your map, you see that 3 people need your help down in the prehistoric cenote to the east. Passing through the rest of the foggy forest isn't too tough, but when you get to the entrance of the Amber Mines, you decide time is of the essence, and using your grappling hook Rotom Shift, you leap into the cenote and rappel down. The prehistoric jungles are active with panicked fossil Pokemon. Among them, you spot a new dragon type. Remember when we met that silly little electric chicken, Cockatrice? Well, it's about time that we finally got the evolution. So, we'll be moving from the Cockatrice inspiration to the Amphisbaene, which is a 2-headed serpentine beastie from Greek mythology. We're going to have a little fun by having its tail head be made up of electricity, since Cockatrice already had that electric tail. But by posturing it like this, the electric head, it seems like it could be the primary head. I don't know. I'm a sucker for mimicry like that in nature and whatnot. And we'll go a little farther when we get to the final stage for this line as well. Other than that, we've got some aggressive shapes that definitely justify the dragon typing that we'll be adding in. And because it is an electric type, you know that we're going to get a nice cool blue shiny. Okay, let's check out the second stage for this Greek myth-inspired line. This is Amphiphrae, the second head Pokemon. The head held above its body is actually concentrated electricity that Amphiphrae uses to trick its opponents. Able to strike both low and high at the same time, this crafty electric dragon is consistently able to land a hit and paralyze its prey. Researchers disagree as to whether the second head is atop an electrified neck or tail. The ability is static, so contact moves may leave the foe paralyzed, and the hidden ability is Lightning Rod. It's a nasty little Pokemon which scampers on over to attack you. Some ground or ice type attacks would be useful, or perhaps a fairy type could make short work of this dragon. If you have a Trismoid, It takes down the dragon, and in turn is finally ready to evolve. I know, about time, am I right? Okay, so this line is based loosely on the Abau Aku, which is some really fun Malaysian folklore. Essentially, we're dealing with an amorphous, translucent creature made of shimmering light, which steals the life force from people to become stronger and more corporeal. Now, we're getting rid of the whole life force stealing bit because I want this to be a fairy type and all, but we are letting its body get bigger and stronger as it evolves. Also, this is another design that has dice shapes going on. In fact, now we've got a D8 as a part of its head. It is an Ultra Beast, so I am cool with this thing looking pretty weird. That being said, this design gave me a ton of trouble. Something about, I don't know, the geometries involved made it difficult to flesh out. I actually did 2 full design passes on this one before I landed here. Alright, let's check out the second stage for our fairy type pseudo-legendary. This is Ruboku, the Prism Pokemon. Researchers suspect that Trismoid is unable to evolve in the universe that it comes from, as it is only when this Ultra Beast has bonded with a trainer that it can grow into a Ruboku. It mirrors their trainer's mood with colorful lights and flickering ribbons. As it grows, the body of the Ruboku becomes more tethered in our dimension and gains physical weight. The ability is still Prism Armor, which reduces damage taken from super effective moves by 25%, and the hidden ability is Clear Body. Assuming you caught a Trismoid earlier on, how are you feeling about this evolution? And we're late enough in the story that both pseudo-legendaries should be reaching their final stage anytime now. You cross through the dense foliage to the southern edge of the cenote, where you hear shouting coming from inside a nearby cave. Traveling inside, you find Looker and officers Blurland and Dubs pinned in place and trying to fend off a large Ultra Beast which lurks in the shadows. You can't quite see the Ultra Beast they're fighting, but you see that Looker is fighting with his Borbcact at his side. In one final stand, Looker grabs a Beast Merge gem and fuses with his partner. So initially, I wasn't planning on having a Beast Merge form here, but I decided a little late that I wanted to make sure to get a Beast Merge form for all of our established characters, and I didn't want Looker left out. And since it was already established to be one of his Pokemon, we just had to do Borbcact. Now, I got a lot of suggestions for a cowboy look for the merge, but that wasn't quite different enough from the base design. Luckily, I got some suggestions from Spooky Shady Gremlin, Mitchell Connor, DJ Catman, Don Martin, and Danable Man Ream OMG No Way. That's a great name, by the way. And they all wanted to continue with the fact that the Cactus Cat likes to lick up fermented cactus juice. So they urged me towards something dealing with like an alcohol barrel and booze and whatnot. Which combined with that like classic destitute, wearing a barrel look, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's also just funny that for a very put together and professional character like Looker, and then having him end up in a form like this, that's funny. That's funny. Now, since it's Pokemon, it's not really alcohol. It's actually just a mixture that makes the user burp nonstop. I like this because one, I personally am a very burpy person. I burp a lot. And burps are funny. And two, because I actually don't drink alcohol. I found alcohol to be kind of dumb and stupid and expensive, and it leads people to be loud and stupid. And yeah. Anyway, burps are funny. We're going that route. Okay, enough rambling. This is Beast Merge Borbcact, the Belch Barrel. The feline spike barbs all launch into the trainer and form a protective barrel, while the rest of the Pokemon becomes a strange container of bubbling liquid. This fusion has an otherworldly control over the continuous stream of burps and bubbles coming from their mouth. After unfusing, the trainer is left with a pounding headache and upset stomach. The ability is Burp Boon, so the effects of an eaten berry are also applied to an ally. In this form, Looker staggers around, and you think it best to join the battle. Burp Boon, the ability, really only does any good in a double battle anyway. With Looker by your side, the Ultra Beast emerges from the shadows and advances. Yeah, time for our next legendary Ultra Beast. Serving as a rough stand-in for the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, here we'll be dealing with Famine. And the inspiration, well, that's something I am pulling from a Mexican and New Mexican urban legend, La Mala Hora, or the Evil Hour. This is a dark entity that can befall people in the dead of night, often at a crossroads, or deep in the desert or woods. Sometimes it is a black sphere or blob floating in the night that consumes people, and other times it shifts into the shape of a woman and draws people in. We're going to play with that in a fun way by having this recessed negative space in the center of the design that has the shape of a woman. I wanted at least one of the 4 horsemen to have a slightly softer looking design. I say that, but I also wanted it covered in these barbed vines. The foliage look is supposed to be a mix between like an area of dense vegetation and kind of also like a tumbleweed a little bit. And these colors, they're fun and all, but after I did the shiny, I ended up swapping the 2. I mean, it's an Ultra Beast after all, and having normal grass type colors just didn't really feel right. Okay, let's check out our next big baddie. This is Festalorn, the Briar Pokemon. UB Void pulls light into its center, plunging its surroundings into darkness. This results in vegetation nearby shriveling in mere moments. In its home dimension, Festalorn has all but decimated its region. Denizens offer up the little they have, but should it not suffice, Festalorn's dark influence compels a single sacrificial person to leap into its void, never to be seen again. The ability is Sharp Debris, so that scatters spikes at the feet of the opposing team whenever it's damaged by a physical move. You and Looker fight back. Even with a type advantage, Looker doesn't last long, but he at least burps a helpful healing berry burp in your face before he is knocked out. Festalorn is tanky, able to set up hazards, and bombard you with a high special attack stat. Now, rarely getting to utilize a bug type, this is where they finally get to shine, and you weaken Festalorn to the point that you could potentially catch it.
We're saved! Ooh-wee! We're saved!
You got us out a tough pickle there. I thought we were goners for sure.
I can't say I'm surprised, kid. You continually prove your abilities. I have a feeling there may be a place for you at Interpol in the future. But for now, let's us 3 get back to town with the others.
Good thinking, Looker.
I'm so glad I ain't dead.
You let the 3 officials leave to get back to Lazy Susie's diner, where everyone else is gathering. And you check your map for the next person to help. You pull out your map to see who else needs your help. To the east, you spot a poison-type icon showing that one of your mind-controlled friends is there. You pull out your trusty grappling hook and ascend out of the cenote. You pass through the desert where the normally dormant Pokemon are running about in fear. A Snooton and Tiwi run by, being chased by a Borbcact riding a Saratuka. Things are definitely getting weird out here. You press on through the heat until you spot a glistening black mirage before you. As you get closer, you see that a horde of poison-type Pokemon are busy covering the area in thick tars, oils, and other poisonous goos. You pass through the area, weaving this way and that to stay on untainted ground until you find a figure at the center.
Didn't expect to see you out here, Ace. You better watch your step since me and these poison types are having some fun polluting this region. I think once we get our technique just right, we'll branch out to other regions. Oh, what? You don't think that's a good idea? Well, I'd just love to see you try and stop me.
Needing no other excuse to save your friend, you challenge her to a battle. she leads with a new Pokemon, the evolution to the Dorky Dweebip. Alright, so this two-stage line is based on the wonderfully odd cryptid from Australia, the Bunyip, where the first stage played up the varying depictions in a humorous way. We're letting the evolution be pretty intimidating. There were two goals that I wanted. Firstly, I wanted at least one design that really felt like just a monster. Just a Gen 1-esque monster, not too overly complicated, just a good old-fashioned monster design. Now, of course, I wanted to pay homage to Australia's extant and extinct wildlife, and how everything is poisonous and wants to mess you up. So we're bringing in some details from other Australian animals. We've got a paddle-like tail and heel spines from the platypus. We've got spines all over like an echidna, and the goofy but intimidating bite of a thylacoleo, which was basically a marsupial lion. It's very cool, very cool. Basically, smush them all together and you get this meanie. Alrighty, this is Punjip, the toxic Pokemon. After a great deal of self-improvement, the clumsy Dweebip evolves into a powerful poison type, able to utilize its bizarre biology to protect its trainer. Punjip is covered with venomous spines, making it difficult for opponents to effectively attack. While it makes a menacing face, it still cares deeply for its trainer and will do everything it can to protect them. The ability is Poison Point, so that means if you make contact with it, there's a chance you'll get poisoned, and the hidden ability is Poison Touch. It's pretty bulky, and with its potential abilities, there's just not a world that your team doesn't end up with some poison. You wish you were fighting its much weaker pre-evolution, as this thing is tough, but you feint it and Cordelia sends out another toothy poison type. Kankaga snaps at you with its massive skull, dealing massive damage with its strong jaw ability. You fight back and are able to knock it out. After that, Cordelia has a bit of a curveball with her trusty Molunder. Any ground type that had the advantage against Cordelia's poison types is wrecked by its incredibly powerful ice type attacks. It takes some time to get through, but when it faints, Cordelia has the evolution to another extremely weak Pokemon. Yep, it is time for our Magikarp Mimic, Tragikarp, to finally evolve. Now, just like the previous stage, this is an Ultra Beast that has recently adapted to a new dimension. While it looks like a familiar Pokemon, it's actually just the goo. Now, more than it just being a convergent design, we're actually basing this off of the Hrokal. I am positive I am pronouncing that wrong. Hrokal, which is an eel from Icelandic folklore with iron scales that lives in polluted waters. Absolutely perfect for the steel and poison typing. This was a pretty easy design to knock out, playing with these metal plates and blades and getting all the shapes so that they felt like a Gyarados. It was just fun. It was fun. I try to have a good balance of cute and silly designs and tough and menacing ones, and this definitely ends way on the edgy side of things. Alright, let's go ahead and learn about Gyarados, the pollution Pokemon. With newfound power, this malevolent beast seeks to spread pollution wherever it goes. Gyarados are covered in razor-sharp blades, each of which are laced with fast-acting toxins. All are advised against attempting to capture this Pokemon, as it has been documented slicing thrown Pokeballs in half and attacking their would-be trainers. The ability is Sheer Force. So that removes a move's secondary benefits and boosts its power instead, with its other optional abilities being Sharpness and Poison Touch. It is absolutely terrifying, thrashing about with its razor-sharp metal plates and corrosive goo. You have to take advantage of its lower special defense stat to even make a dent in it, but you do eventually manage to knock it out. Cordelia rolls her eyes at you and throws out another new Pokemon, the evolution to the stink-flinging Flungunk. Alright, we are finally wrapping up our Skunk Ape-inspired line. This is a Floridian Bigfoot-esque cryptid that also happens to absolutely reek. I'm continuing the look where this line doesn't have its eyes visible normally. I like the poisonous spines hanging down over its face, almost like matted fur. And where the previous stage had pads on its hands that produced throwable stink clouds, we're adding this big old stink cloud tail coming off the back. A couple of lighter stripes when we get to coloring really gives it that skunk look, which is fun. And in battle, it grabs some of its tail to either power up its punches or throw the concentrated gas. Again, very much like a monkey throwing poop. Stupid, I know, but it's funny. Whatever. Alrighty, let's go ahead and check out our skunk ape-inspired Funkugung, the bad gas Pokemon. What appears to be a tail is actually a cloud of horribly smelling gas that Funkugung emits from its backside. By reaching behind itself, Funkugung's punches can be imbued with toxic scent. Luckily, it is easy to steer clear of this smelly ape, as its stench is hard to miss. The ability is, then, of course, stench, so there is a 10% chance to cause an opponent to flinch when hit by a damaging move. And sure, it's a little slow, but we are giving this Pokemon its own priority signature move called Stink Sneak. So, kind of a silent but deadly type of move. Very funny, very silly. Alright, it's annoying, but you take down Funkugung. Cordelia tosses out her final Pokemon, the slithering bug-type Venospar. Before you can get an attack in, she already has grabbed her Beast Merge necklace and the two fuse together. I got a lot of great suggestions for this Beast Merge form, in particular some that played off of the fact that Dunsparce's split evolution got a cute bumper car inspired like roller coaster thing. So people were thinking about bullet trains and treadmills and pirate ships and some other amusement park adjacent designs. But the one that I liked the most was from Outside the Outside, who suggested we look at the classic spinning teacup ride. The spinning nature fits really well with the poison type, but it also let me sneak in Cordelia's ice type by having it spin about on a disc of ice. For Moose and now Cordelia, I really wanted to make sure their Beast Merge forms had the typings from their first fights. Beyond that, it was just wrapping Venospar's design elements around a cup, filling it with ice that locks the trainer in place, and having some fun with the ice textures. Alrighty, let's go ahead and meet Beast Merge Venospar, the Sickness Spinner. The long bug wraps around their trainer and morphs into the shape of a large teacup. Ice fills the cup and locks the trainer in place as the cup begins to rotate. Sheets of ice form under the base wherever it goes, allowing it to spin at nauseating speeds. The forces involved let this form fling ice and poison type attacks with blinding speed. After unfusing, only the hardiest of trainers can keep from immediately losing their lunches. The ability is Quick Spin, which removes all hazards when entering battle. That's kind of fun. So she cleans up any entry hazards and whips around the battlefield. Any ground types that you had left are decimated by its powerful ice beams. This fast, mixed attacker is a tough final stand for Cordelia, but eventually you are able to defeat her. She separates from her Pokemon and collapses. You swoop in and remove the mind control collar from her neck.
Dang, sorry about that, but I knew I could count on you to kick my butt. And yikes, looks like I really made this area a mess. But anyway, what do I need to do? Bring this collar back to McFadden in town? I can do that. You stay safe out there.
Cordelia takes the mind control collar marked with the poison type symbol and starts back to town. You check your map for the next person to help. Checking your map, you see that two people are trapped at the Twin Falls water tower to the north. You leave the poisoned area and desert behind and cross into the nearby woods. The area is crawling with tough Pokemon, agitated by the apocalyptic events going on. Ilo, Detroke, and Loudrill slink about in the shadows, and you spot something larger stomping your way. Bukuvant was our tiny little dragon and bug type we met long ago, and it needs to finally evolve into something large and intimidating. Now, this line is based off of the Bukuvak, a demonic creature from Slavic myth, basically a six-legged horned dragon lizard monster thing. So, even though it was previously a bug type, we're only now giving it 6 legs. Though, since Bukuvak is known for grabbing and strangling people, how pleasant, I know, we're going to make sure that the front limbs have grasping hands. That also means that it would get access to, like, grabbing and throwing moves. And actually, because of the armor look that I wanted it to have, it would probably get access to some steel-type moves as well. It's also, I don't know, it's not the most complex design, and kind of like our Bunyip, I was okay with this feeling a little bit more like a Gen 1 or Gen 2-esque monster design. Alrighty, let's meet Bukavid, the Skitter Pokemon. Though it may have 6 legs, the front 2 are used for grabbing and subduing their opponents. Once it has nabbed its prey, Bukavid drags it back into its lair. Their clawed feet let them climb on most surfaces with ease, giving this dragon type the tactical advantages of smaller bug types. The ability is battle armor, so the Pokemon is protected against critical hits, with the hidden ability being Swarm. With its balanced stats, it ends up being a pretty formidable mixed attacker. What do you think of our dragon bug now that it isn't so tiny anymore? Well, you scare it off with some ice-type attacks and continue on. You hear some spooky wailing coming from further ahead. The ghostly calls echo from around the forest and make you feel a little woozy. Finally, the spirit causing this otherworldly din makes itself known. Yep, it's time to finally finish up our 3-stage Banshee line. It started with the baby Passacry, then became a teenager as Angster, and now we've got a full-grown ghostly adult. It's still very much a Banshee, but with a bit of the classic woman in white style ghost kind of drawn in there too. We got some ruffles around the shoulders and the neck with something that approximates a flowing dress as well. The other bit that is coming on from the middle stage is the idea of like punk rock or emo music. I guess more specifically it would be like Screamo. I mean, like a Banshee wail and Screamo, it's basically the same thing. Now, just like the Pokemon Dragapult, which has its first stage in the design with it, we're giving this final form a Passacry to hold on to. Though it's actually just kind of treating the Passacry like a microphone. It's a little messed up if you think about it too much. But anyway, let's learn all about Banscree, the wailing Pokemon. The spine-chilling effects of this ghost type's voice can paralyze even the bravest of trainers. Banscree hold a Passacry and yell directly into it. Not only does the Passacry not mind this intense attention, but it helps to amplify the Banscree's already powerful vocals. Applauding its vocals will appease it long enough for some overly dramatic bows. The ability remains Wraith Wail, so that means all sound-based moves become ghost type. And the hidden ability is Soundproof. Yeah, what do you think of our finished ghost monotype? Spooky enough for you? Well, you chase it off with a dark type Pokemon and continue on. You should be getting closer, but all you hear is more wailing. You think it could be another Banscree until you realize it's a human crying and complaining up ahead. You see the legs of a water tower and clamber up to find 2 people, Valentino and Tobert. They are trapped by an Ultra Beast that is just around the other side of the tower. Toby musters up all of the bravery he has and sends out his Candyvore. Clasping a Beast Merge gem tightly, the two fuse together. Yep, we just gotta give poor Tobert a Beast Merge. I got some amazing suggestions from the Unfunny Hunter and the official Golurk that we do a gelatinous cube from Dungeons & Dragons. Always happy to get another D&D reference in. It was particularly perfect for Toby. Poor, unfortunate Toby needed an equally unfortunate Beast Merge. And being suspended in a gelatinous cube, yeah, that's definitely it. The trunk and branches of the tree can be turned into wooden skeleton pieces and a wooden sword for Tobert to brandish. Other than that, it's really just a cube. Of course, the fun part is just getting the render figured out. With a simple Pokemon design, it's usually just a single layer of color that I throw down, but this is an instance where I really needed to layer a bunch of transparent layers to get the effect that I wanted. It's simple, sure, but I think it's pretty effective. Alright, let's check out Tobert's Gooey Prison. This is Beast Merge Candivore. The Dungeon Cube. The sticky sap leaps from the Pokemon's branches to consume the trainer. After settling into a cube shape, it becomes more translucent to reveal the trainer suspended inside with bits of wood. How the trainer keeps from suffocating is a mystery, and they are in fact quite comfortable and safe inside. After unfusing, they are left covered in a fine layer of mucus. The ability is Goo Trap. That's something new where making contact lowers the opponent's speed and will keep them from retreating from battle. Tobert wiggles about as menacingly as he can muster from inside the goo. Unfortunately, a couple fiery blasts come rocketing around the edge of the water tower and shred through the beast merge form. Tobert separates from his Pokemon, and you are left to face the legendary Ultra Beast coming around the corner all on your own. Okay, let's tackle the third Horseman of the Apocalypse. This will be our abstracted version of Death. Now, our 4 horsemen are all urban legends from different points in history. Our first was the Kensington Runestone legend, which is from the late 1800s. Then La Malahora is from the early 1900s. And now we're going to go with a more recent one, the Charman. Now, there are actually a bunch of different versions of the Charman starting around the mid-1900s. But at its core, it's about a man who is consumed by fire, usually a house fire, while trying to and failing to protect either his wife or a child, and you end up with a charred and tormented ghosty ghost. Now, I wanted to really lean into the fact that the story revolves around 2 people being consumed by flames and work both forms into the design. I'm particularly happy with how some round shapes and a couple X's become the shape of a curled up person in the center. Alrighty, let's check out our next horseman. This is Chardrim, the Lost Pokemon. UB Inferno glides across the ground, engulfing everything in its wake in flames. Chardrim's partial body parts are made of feather-light burnt carbon, which are imbued and controlled by 2 ever-mourning lost souls. The exterior parts do all they can to protect those inside the flaming sphere. Its home dimension has been completely consumed by flame. There are no inhabitants left. The ability is something new called Fuel Body. So, the burn status, which normally would not affect fire types, so it can be burned, but it doesn't lose HP and instead gets a boost to its attack. And then on top of that, it uses a signature attack, Flame Rage, which deals a decent chunk of damage and leaves the user burned. It's a speedy mixed attacker, and it burns through much of your team. Eventually, you are able to weaken it to the point where you actually have a chance at catching it. After that, Valentino and Tobert both sigh in relief.
Oh, thank you! I thought we were toast! My new best buddy Valentino and I were convinced we would be Ultra Beast food for sure!
Firstly, I wasn't scared at all, Tobert. Secondly, you and I aren't actually friends. Sharing a life or death experience doesn't make us buds.
Oh no! I came on too strong again!
And thirdly, I don't know, thanks for saving us, or whatever. Come on, my non-friend Tobert, let's go back to town with everyone else.
The 2 of them start making their way back to Lazy Susie's diner, while you check your map for the next person who needs your help. Now, before we go, let's check in on the Pokédex. This is our last check-in before the end of the series, so we're really not missing much at all. Of the missing Mons, I don't know, which one are you most excited to finally get? Are you confident enough to make a full team of 6 Pokemon, or do you need to wait until the very end? You pull out your map to see who else needs your help. To the north, in the middle of the lake, you spot a fairy-type icon showing that one of your mind-controlled family members is there. Using your Rotom Shift glider, you leap from the top of the water tower and soar towards the islands, expertly landing on the beach of the lake. When your feet hit the sand, one of your Pokemon pops out to roll around in the wet dirt. Little Purlipod has been collecting dirt and minerals from all over the region during your travels, and with this last bit of sand, it has completed its collection and is ready to evolve. Okay, so this is based off of the Samaritan sea snail mainly, with its funky branching antlers, and there's also a dash of Locole, the giant snail from French legend. This thing has been around the region and is wizened by its travels, so having this kind of abstracted face and mouth parts that feel a little bit like a big bushy mustache, yeah, that's fun. And of course, I spent forever on the shell. I mean, that's what this whole Pokemon thing is, building its shell just the way it wanted. It's self-actualization and self-affirmation, all that good stuff rolled together. I could see it getting a lot of fun setup moves and even decorate to help fancy up its friends too. The colors were fun, taking Purlipod's intentional color palette and sprinkling in a few more pastels. And there's a pretty fun shiny too. Okay, let's meet the massive Iridescol, the fancy shell Pokemon. A Purlipod that is able to travel across a wide range of biomes collecting sand is finally able to evolve into this massive snail. Shimmering mineral deposits have erupted out of its rocky shell, and large antlers display multicolored pearls. Iridescol are proud of their self-made appearance and protect any Pokemon in need. The ability is Storm Drain, so that draws in all water-type attacks and boosts its special attack, with the optional abilities being Innards Out and Dazzling. You pat it on its weird head and it coos in appreciation for you bringing it around the region. But you've got to get to your sister, so you pull out your Rotom Kayak and hit the water. The Pokemon in and around the lake are all pretty freaked out and aggressive. You spot Nambomble, Sproingut, and even Papaddle out here. As you get closer to the area indicated on your map, you notice that the waters are shifting and churning below you, illuminated with magical pink and purple energy. Up on some rocky spires, you observe numerous fairy-type Pokemon dancing about in a synchronized and somewhat unsettling manner. On the large center island, instructing the surrounding Pokemon as if she was conducting them, you see your sister Maple. The mind control collar glints around her neck, and she narrows her eyes as you approach.
Well, I didn't expect to see you here. I was told to take my fairy-type Pokemon and cause some chaos and destruction. In all honesty, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that in the most effective way. I mean, they're fairy types, am I right? So you better leave. I need to figure this out.
You hate that it's come to this, but you need to free your sister from her mind control. And so you throw out a Pokemon to challenge her. She smirks and throws out her trusty Squattles and orders it to attack. To both of your surprise, Squattles just stands there shaking, unable to bring itself to follow Maple's orders. She continues yelling at Squattles, but with a tear in its eye, Squattles turns around and joins you. This will be a double battle, since Squaddle loves Maple too much to let her remain mind-controlled. It's not much of an attacker, but it will do its best to keep your team healed up. Maple screams in frustration, picks 6 new Pokemon to use, and sends out the first 2. The starter that your starter is strong against hits the field, flanked by a little Flipint. While her starter certainly is strong, the real problem is Flipint, who sets up defensive screens and hazards. It's supposed to be about cleaning, so it tossing sticky webs and spikes out is pretty mean. Eventually, you manage to knock these 2 out. And the next Pokemon is new to you, the evolution to Ilo. Yep, our eyeball bat is going to go full biblically accurate angel. The halo look of Ilo gets turned into these rings, which will populate with a bunch of eyeball-like orbs. I mean, it should be pretty creepy after all. Of course, we're going to give it a bunch of pretty wings. We need to maintain some of the beauty of an angel after all. I thought about making it a steel type since there's so much gold now, but flying and fairy just makes the most sense still. Plus, it would be pure gold, which is like a pretty malleable metal after all. And I don't know, we'll say that it gets some steel type moves anyway. Oh, and as angelic as this look is, the shiny is a pretty sick inversion. Okay, let's go ahead and learn about Ayleer, the ring Pokemon. This flying type is able to watch everything going on around it, while it focuses its large eye on whatever it is most interested in. The black orbs around its body are also eyes which scan everything. Ayleer can be a bit judgmental, and if they disagree with their trainer's behavior, they will often refuse to listen. Some particularly upset Ayleer have destroyed their Pokeballs and returned to the wild to escape a trainer they disapprove of. The ability is Serene Grace, which doubles the chance of a move's secondary effects, with the hidden ability being Natural Cure. It's a relatively bulky support mon, but is it too creepy for you to want? Or would you rock one of these angels if you had the chance? And who is battling at its side? Well, it's none other than Shephisto. Ayleer pelts your team with secondary effects while supporting its devilish teammate. They are quite the pair, taking out a good amount of your team and bringing Squaddles down to a few remaining HP. But eventually you manage to take them both out. Maple's final two Pokemon are the tricky Azaboon, whose prankster ability makes it a menace, along with the final stage of one of our pseudo-legendary lines. About time, am I right? Okay, so again, this line is based on the Abao Aku, a shape-shifting being of light that has slowly been becoming more corporeal. We're taking the ribbons present in the previous stage and really elongating them into the main structure here. And then the light that has hardened into geometric dice shape previously are now clusters growing on it. Basically, the facets of a dice kind of crushed together. In fact, that's how this thing evolves. You need to have it in a party filled with Pokemon with different dice shapes. You need like a D6 like Cubesque or a D12 like Isidron and so on. It's a tough evolution method, but I don't know, we'd sprinkle clues somewhere about how to do it. Now, I thought about bringing in the dragon typing because of the body shape, or have the rock typing because of the crystals, but I actually prefer it just remaining mono fairy. Okay, let's find out about Refractal, the Prism Pokemon. This fairy type's entire body is made of light that had been compressed down into physical crystals and ribbons. Refractal has a mastery over light and enjoys putting on colorful light shows for people and Pokemon. Unable to evolve in their home dimension, they are eternally grateful to any trainer that helps them reach this majestic and corporeal form. The ability remains Prism Armor, so that reduces damage from super effective attacks by 25%, with the hidden ability being Clear Body. And what do you think? Would you put in the work to get your hands on one of these? It thrashes about and immediately knocks out poor Squaddles. Maple chuckles and grabs a gem in the center of her sweater and merges with her Refractal. Okay, time to get some Gravity Falls references into this Beast Merge form. So we've got the sphere that contained Mableland, which was a prison. We've got the human-sized hamster ball. We've got the floating pose that Mabel did at the end of Season 1. And we've got the infinity-sided dice. Kind of crazy that we're getting all of those smooshed in here, but it really does end up working. The design itself is extremely simple, but the real challenge was rendering the crystal, getting that iridescent shimmer and all. And all of the different facets, it took a while. But I like how it turned out. Okay, let's check out Beast Merge Fractal, the Light Prison. Wanting nothing more than to protect its trainer, this fairy type shatters into a cloud of light shards which form a sphere around them. While comprised only of solidified light, the shell is harder than diamond. Inside, waves of fairy energy lull the trainer into a dream, and after unfusing, the trainer can't remember their dream and whether they were in control at all. And the ability is comatose, so the user is always asleep but can still attack, but that also means it's immune to other status conditions. She is incredibly tough, and supports Azaboon, who continues to be a nightmare to deal with. Once Azaboon falls, it's just you and your sister. Squaddles oinks softly to save her. Your last Pokemon deals a final blow that breaks through the prison. She separates and falls, and you rush over to remove the mind control collar from her neck. She shakes her head and gets to her feet.
Oh my goodness! Sorry about that. Twins shouldn't be fighting like that. I just couldn't control myself. Not a fan of that. Okay, so what do I need to do now? Take this collar back to McFadden in town? I can do that. I'll see you back there. Good luck out there!
Maple takes the mind control collar marked with the fairy type symbol, hugs her beloved Squaddles, and starts the journey back to the others. You start westward to shore. You are feeling absolutely exhausted and worry that there isn't much time left to deal with this whole apocalypse situation. You wish you didn't have to do this alone, and to your surprise, you see a familiar face is waiting on the dock.
I could see the battle with your sister from way out here. Alright, let's heal you up.
He tosses you some revives and potions and lets you recover your team.
Great job saving her, kid. Very impressive. Where's she headed?
You fill in Professor Pines on the plan and everyone bringing their mind control collars back to town to hopefully fight back. You ask about the professor's collar, which isn't on his neck at all.
Oh, that dumb thing? Yeah, I figured I'd be trapped forever, but I got some unexpected help. These two decided we shouldn't be fighting each other at all.
A pair of Cypher Squad grunts tentatively walks out of the nearby forest and nods at you.
Don't worry, they're cool, and we have the last necklace with us, so why don't you take us back to where the rest of the townspeople are hiding?
You remind your Grunkle that there are still some people in need of saving farther north and check your map again. To your surprise, you see that not only are there people trapped up on the bridge that crosses over the opening of the Hoax region itself, but according to this, Professor Pines' dragon-type collar isn't with him and is still somewhere on the snowy mountain. You lower your phone and eye the professor suspiciously.
What is it? Ah, dang it. I knew I should have said that we left that thing back there. Oh well. Instead of doing this the easy way, you two, take this pathetic human down.
The two grunts attack and you are forced into a double battle. You have to work your way through a Mantaris and Gugantum, followed by a Royletic and Frillo, and then finally a Phasbogor and a Hoaxian Garbodor. It's a tough battle, but you manage to knock them all out.
Of course I couldn't count on you two to do it on your own. Guess I'll have to do all the heavy lifting.
The professor's body distorts and stretches into the same shape-shifting Ultra Beast that you encountered in the bunker. Gortesk pulls out a Beast Merge gem and begins to glow. The two Cypher Squad grunts share a look of woeful resignation as the Ultra Beast's appendages scoop both of them up and incorporate them into the fusion. Yep, time for a Beast Merge that kind of breaks the rules a little bit. Gortesk is going to merge with two people, mainly to reference the shapeshifter in Gravity Falls becoming a horrible combination of Dipper and Mabel. Now, a quick shout out to everyone who suggested that we do some more The Thing inspirations, which is basically what's going on here. You know, this funky, unnatural pose, and especially the long head on this stalk-like neck. But of course, since the original Ultra Beast is pretty scary stuff, I did want to make this go like a little bit more silly. So our shapeshifter is trying to look like a person, just a completely normal human person, business person who does business person things, got a tie and a briefcase and everything, so very normal. And unlike the other forms, the Ultra Beast is 100% in control of this form. So it gets to have a fully formed head and face still, unlike the other ones. Okay, let's learn the details of Beast Merge Gortesque, the Mocking Mimic. Unlike all other known Beast Merge forms, there is no shared control between Pokemon and trainer. Gortesque is in complete control still and simply utilizes trainers to make itself stronger. It makes fun of its opponents by presenting a horrifying and distorted representation of a human being. After unfusing, trainers are emotionally scarred by the ordeal. And the ability is Trace, which copies a foe's ability. It's a tricky opponent with balanced stats and a wide move pool. Bug, normal, dark, and poison type attacks are certainly annoying, but luckily, utilizing some super effective fighting type attacks let you knock this horrifying abomination out. The two grunts separate from the Ultra Beast, and in its dazed state, you finally have a chance to capture it in a Pokeball. The grunts flee, but rather than chase after them, you eye the sheer cliff faces to the north. Some narrow paths wind their way up, and luckily, the grappling hook form of your Rotom Shift has you ascending up the cliff in no time. As you ascend, you appreciate the rich red rocks and clays that make up the cliffs, and so does one of your Pokemon. Yep, if you caught little Spokeely, it's been slowly collecting dirt from across the region, and this is the last bit of terrain that it needs to traverse before finally evolving. Yes, it is time for our little wheel of a spider to turn into a proper slide rock bolter. This is a North American cryptid that is essentially a massive worm-like whale creature that perches up on the side of mountains, latches on with a hook-like tail, and then when it sees prey, it lets go and slides down the mountain like a rock slide and gobbles them up. It honestly feels like a little bit of like silly speculative biology. It's very fun. Now, we're maintaining some of the bug aspects to justify our typing instead of it just being a whale. Now, one of my issues with the Slide Rock Bolter was how the heck it was supposed to get back up the mountain afterwards. So we're giving it some rotating pickaxe-like appendages that it can use to climb with. It's pretty goofy looking, but I wanted to make sure there were some silly mons in the late game. Also, I just love this evolution method. Gotta let it, see all the dirts. Okay, time to check out Boldrock, the landslide Pokemon. Early exploration in the Hoenn region incorrectly classified Boldrock as a land whale, but its bug-type ancestry has become clear with further study. They latch onto mountain peaks with their grasping tails, where they sleep for days at a time. When threatened, they let go and slide down the mountain with surprising speed. It maintains its signature ability, Roll Down, so the Pokemon speed stat is doubled during the first turn of a battle. Then it, returns to normal afterwards, with the hidden ability being Steadfast. It's massive, but somehow able to navigate the cliff face better than much smaller and more nimble Pokemon. It even finds an opening for you, leading into the tunnels that lead even farther up the cliffs. The tunnels are dark, but you can still make out the train tracks leading onward. Up ahead, it opens onto the long bridge where the people in need are stuck. You're not sure how Atlantica and the high-flying duo Skylar and Breeze got up here, but they definitely need your help. A massive flying Ultra Beast is circling overhead. You are ready to help your friends when one of your Pokemon suddenly begins to evolve. It turns out that this bridge has some significance to Vissalurk. Okay, now is the time to finally get to our final stage for our Mothman line. I actually went back and forth on how it would evolve, initially thinking it would use an item, but with Mothman tied so closely to the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant, a location-based evolution felt appropriate. Also, it helps justifying not getting the evolution until so ridiculously late in the game. Now, I ended up doing a few passes at this design so I could get it just right. There are a handful of designs, like the starters, that I honestly I care more about. I need them to be perfect. I mean, Lilurk is probably top 3 favorite mons from the region for me. Now, it finally clicked when I took the wings from the middle stage and let them get so big that they block out the light, similar to how a black heron holds its wings over the water to trick fish into thinking that it's night. After I figured that out, it all just fell into place. And as always with this line, it has a ridiculous shiny. Okay, let's check out Visigoth, the Omen Pokemon. This frightening winged creature is able to predict disasters and tries to warn people in Pokemon. Luckily, others often find Visigoth and the eerie shadows it casts quite terrifying and flee without a second thought. Being feared by most people, Visigoth is incredibly appreciative of any trainer who can look past its dark appearance. The ability remains Terrorize, which lowers the special attack stat of opposing Pokemon, and the hidden ability is Intimidate. It stretches its massive wings, their undersides capable of casting darkness as if it were casting light. What do you think of our regional flying type? Let me know if it would make your team, but at this moment, it's ready to take on the Ultra Beast overhead, which swoops down to attack. We're finally finishing up our 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse with Conquest. Conquest is a little bit more nebulous than some of the other descriptors, but we'll make it work here. And again, these have all been based on urban legends, so we're actually going old school with a Victorian-era spring-heeled jack. Sightings started in the 1830s, and descriptions vary a bit. Sometimes it's more demonic, but I prefer the version that's much more humanoid, tall and slender, blades on his fingers, white suit under his cloak. And of course, his most defining feature is his ability to leap massive heights. He'll chase you down and leap over gates and buildings and anything that gets in his way, effortlessly jumping and gliding down onto his prey. And that's why we'll actually be using the flying type here. And it's these, feathery blade-like digits that they help with flight, but it's mainly just getting around by jumping and gliding. All right, let's check out the last horseman. This is Slotrist, the scarcity Pokemon. UB Wing is fascinated by possessions of others. An overwhelming desire to procure everything causes it to steal without any remorse. And Slotrist will happily take things by force if their target is foolish enough to protest. In their home dimension, they have unintentionally started a cult-like following of possessionless denizens who are desperate for any scraps Slotrist may drop. Their ability is Pilfer, so dealing a physical attack causes the opponent to drop their held item. If this Pokemon has no held item, it will steal it. And the hidden ability is, of course, Beast Boost. It lands softly on the bridge and rattles its razor-sharp feathers before attacking. It is extremely fast and strong, and its normal flying, dark, and steel-type attacks rip through your team. It takes some real effort, but you are able to weaken it to the point that you have a chance at capturing this legendary Ultra Beast. Atlantica, Skylar, and Breeze cross the bridge to you.
Whoa, that was some top-notch Pokemon battling right there.
Yeah, totally radical.
We probably should say thank you or something, but honestly, we don't have time to. Come on, you two. Let's get back.
For sure. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, we owe you one.
Atlantica huffs and follows the experienced pair down to the ground and back to town. You check your map to see where your Grunkle actually is. You pull out your map for the location of your Grunkle, the final person who needs your help. To the west, at the center of the frozen mountain, is a dragon-type icon. You leap off of the high bridge, and using your Rotom Shift, you glide as far as you are able. As you are approaching the mountain, you see that a number of glowing cracks have formed in it. And since you don't see evidence of the professor anywhere on the mountain itself, you figure he must be inside. You ascend the frozen mountain until you find a newly opened cave entrance, and as soon as you step inside, you are blasted with waves of intense heat. Panicked Pokemon have taken shelter in these superheated caves and fissures. Nombomble, Royletic, and even a Frozo lash out at you as you pass by. Traveling deeper inside, glowing magma flows around you, and at the heart of the mountain, you find a vast chamber. You see the professor standing on an island in the middle of a lake of magma, surrounded by entranced dragon-type Pokemon.
Kid, I don't know what you're doing here, but if you know what's good for you, you'll beat it. I'm building a dragon-type army to lay waste to this awful town before we travel the world causing destruction. I finally understand that this world deserves to be as chaotic and broken as the dimension my brother was trapped in.
You know he doesn't mean what he's saying and can't wait to defeat him and get the mind controller collar off of his neck. The professor readies 2 Pokeballs, and you throw out 2 of your team to start the double battle. First up is the starter that Professor Pines grabbed after you and Maple picked yours, and unfortunately it has the type advantage over your starter. Next to it is the evolution to the sneaky Detroke. Time to take the classic cryptid, the Hide Behind, and modernize it. Yep, let's bring in some good old Slender Man. He's technically canon to Gravity Falls as he shows up in a comic or something, I believe. I initially thought about playing up the tree-ness of the first stage and introduce the grass type, but after playing with the twisting Slender Man tendrils, I ended up landing on something a bit stranger. I mean, I'm all for Pokemon that push how different types can be represented, so we'll be introducing the Dragon type here. Splitting the tentacles at the top into these kind of dragon heads is justification enough, I think. Plus, it's just cool. Other than that, it was just getting the Slender Man look down. I'm particularly happy with how the face turned out. Okay, let's meet Thindurant, the unseen Pokemon. This exceedingly rare dark type was thought to be an urban legend until only recently. Thindurant are unmatched in their ability to hide in any environment. Those unfortunate enough to see one are relentlessly stalked by it and plagued by powerful nightmares and visions, often leading to the viewer leaving the Hoax region entirely. Few trainers can withstand its dark aura. The ability remains out of sight, so when behind a substitute, this Pokemon regains 1/16 of its HP every turn, with the hidden ability being Terrorize. It sets up substitute right away, and then its balanced stats let it alternate between using debilitating status moves and powerful attacks. You lose a couple team members yourself, but you manage to take out both of these Pokemon. Next up, Professor Pine sends out a Kankaga and the evolution to Mimighoul. Now, when I initially laid out my plans for the decks, I wasn't planning on there being an evolution here at all. This is the only Pokemon that I added after creating my, again, initial decks before episode 1 even came out. But after Mimighoul became a convergent form, we just had to sneak in another Pokemon. But of course, it can't just look like Goldengo, can't be, just like a dude. Continuing with the Dungeons and Dragons motif for this line, our treasure chest is now being hoarded by a dragon who is itself a pile of treasure. This just made so much sense. You collect 100 of these strange coins, and it turns into the treasure that it is protecting. Silly, fun, and the most justified steel and dragon type that there could possibly be. Rendering the gold is, of course, very fun. It definitely helps to use a reference to see exactly how Goldengo handles its highlights and shadows. There's your lesson for today. Always use references. Okay, let's meet Goldrago, the treasure Pokemon. Once a Mimighoul has amassed enough strange coins from across the Hoax region, it is able to evolve into this massive gold dragon. Goldrago is incredibly protective of its wealth and will lash out at anyone who gets too close. Trainers must work hard to earn this Pokemon's trust. Goldrago's most prized possession is held within its chest, which varies by individual. It could be anything from a glittering gem to a well-worn chew toy. The ability is Gimme Gimme, so when this Pokemon isn't holding an item and uses a move which makes contact, the target will have the held item stolen. And then the hidden ability is Pickup. It immediately steals a held item from your team, which is rather rude, but you'd expect nothing less from one of your Grunkle's favorite Pokemon. And any fairy or ice types you had hoped to use against the Professor's dragon types are absolutely destroyed by the poison or steel type attacks that these two Pokemon send your way. Your team is in rough shape by the time you finally feint these two. Professor Pine sends out his final two Pokemon, an unexpected Gugantum, along with the evolution to the pseudo-legendary Papaddle. I've been waiting for this one for a long time too, but we couldn't get the final pseudo stages until the very end. Okay, so continuing with the Aklut inspiration, our first stage was more Wolf Pup, our second stage was more Orca, so our final stage we're going to strike the perfect balance between the two. There's always the risk that combining such different animals will end up with a lumpy and unnatural looking creature, but I really wanted this to be a fast and agile looking Pokemon, so I had to find the best approach to incorporate things in a sleek way. Funny enough, it was figuring out the mouth and jaw that really solidified things, and everything else just kind of flowed out of that. I'm probably going to get a little hate for adding the dragon type to this, but hey, there's a second pseudo-legendary that isn't dragon type, and again, I like dragon types that don't look exactly like the standard dragon, so I think it's fine. Okay, let's meet Aquilobo, the sea wolf Pokemon. This ferocious dragon is perfectly adapted for frigid waters and rugged icy terrain. Its frozen fangs let it instantly freeze its prey. It is said that once an Aquilobo begins its hunt, there is no stopping it until it is fed. For this reason, trainers often bring lots of excess treats to keep Aquilobo focused. The ability is something new called Ice Flow. So, using ice or water type attacks changes the user's secondary type to match, and the user cannot be burned, with the hidden ability being Ice Body. There's just no stopping its powerful attacks. That ability essentially gives it 3 stab types and an immunity to burn too. Gugantum keeps using Follow Me, meaning you have to get through its bulk before you can even touch Aquilobo. By the time you knock out the electric and poison type, you are down to your final Pokemon. And unfortunately, the professor grabs a glowing stone from his pocket and merges with his Aquilobo. So what could we turn our version of Grunkle Stan into? Well, how about we reference the fact that he has on multiple occasions turned into a wild brawler, fighting a pterodactyl or even zombies with his bare fists. Well, technically he had brass knuckles, which is what we're playing up here. Great big old fists with icy spiked brass knuckles. The biggest question was whether or not this would be a fighting type or a dark type. I mean, brass knuckles is very punchy and punchy is very fighting type, but in the end, Grunkle Stan he just doesn't fight fair, right? He just has to be a dark type. He's an unstable and crazed attacker, so Dark and Dragon, they both feel like the best match. Okay, let's check out Beast Merge Aquilobo, the Enraged Brawler. This form is overtaken with an animalistic rage. Dark-type energy flows through their massive spiked fists, dealing devastating blows, while unstable Dragon-type energy courses through the trainer's muscles, allowing them to sprint at lightning speeds and get behind their opponent's defenses. After unfusing, the trainer is plagued with visions of their own twisted potential. And then the ability gets to be Unseen Fist, so contact moves can strike through, protect, and detect. He is ridiculously powerful. I mean, that attack stat is just insane. And you have to Beast Merge yourself to pull through and land a final blow. The professor separates from his Pokemon and collapses to the ground. You dash over and take the collar marked with a dragon-type symbol off of his neck.
Oh, geez. That was rough. I'm sorry about that, kid. I owe you big time for getting me out of that one. Now, how about you and me get our butts back to town? Sounds like you've done an amazing job rescuing everybody during this weird apocalyptic event. Maybe we can put our heads together and stop the destruction my brother is causing.
You and the professor leave the magma caves behind and start your trek back to Lazy Susie's diner.
Well, looky who showed up after saving every person what was in distress across the region.
Yep, the kid is pretty great. And what's this I hear about you making something to reverse all this weird ultra beast energy nonsense my brother is responsible for? And you need this mind control collar that he put on me?
That's right. Let me just get that slotted into the rest of my invention, and there you go. If we're able to get this to the main ultra wormhole and slot it into the center, not only will it close the portal for good, but it should siphon off all the excess ultra wormhole energy what's corrupting our idyllic region.
So that's the plan then. We just need to get back into the Cypher Squad headquarters and pop that baby into place.
Sure, the place is crawling with henchmen and Pokemon in a panic, but we can make it.
Whoa. Look, this is way too dangerous. I can't have any of you risking your necks. Wilford is my brother, and I'll be the one to finish this. No matter what it takes, this is on me to make it right.
No way, dude. This place is our home, and we all want to fight for it. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah.
Stop
it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to bust some skulls.
Rebel.
See? Plus, from the looks of it, you're gonna need all the help you can get. I mean, the Cypher Squad hideout is now less back room of the museum and more floating temple of chaos.
Professor Pines reluctantly agrees. You check your map. The pyramid structure isn't far at all. With the entire town at your back, you leave the diner and begin marching towards your target. Huge sections of the Twin Falls Museum have broken apart and now levitate in a chaotic pyramid structure. At the very top, the Ultra Wormhole device is what is spewing this corrupting energy upwards. As you approach the pyramid, it looks like every single Cypher Squad grunt is blocking your way. It seems that they have found out your plan somehow. Members of the town peel off and begin fighting to help you through. And they are kicking butt. As you go, you see Mayor Terry with a new water type. Yeah, let's finally finish up our 3-stage line based on the Lao. The first stage, Tendrip, really captured that catfish look that some people attribute to Lao, just being a catfish. The second stage is more of a transition, and now we get to go with the tentacle-faced dinosaur version that I really like. I'm quite partial to it. It's like as if Cthulhu and a raptor had a baby. We're going to keep things as simple as possible, as it can be very tempting when doing anything Lovecraftian or Lovecraftian adjacent to end up adding too many tentacles and gross bits and details in general. This 3-eyed, horned, tentacle-mouthed head was the biggest challenge, but luckily, after that, the rest of the design just kind of worked out. It's pretty cute, actually. Looks nice and fast, and we're continuing with the Druddigon shiny colors, just for fun. Okay, let's meet Laothul, the tendril Pokemon. While this dragon's 3 eyes initially had researchers assuming it was an Ultra Beast non-native to the Hoax region, further study shows that it is from our dimension and just looks very weird. Laothul are quite aggressive and will thoroughly pummel anyone who calls them weird looking. Its ability is Swift Swim, so that boosts speed in the rain, and the hidden ability is Water Absorb. Mayor Terry uses Laothul expertly, and they keep some annoying Cypher Squad members back. Continuing on, Sandy is holding her own with a smaller ground type at her side. Okay, it is kind of bananas that we are this late into the series and we still have a single stage Pokemon that we need to design. This is based off the Dungavenhooter, one of the silliest American folklore cryptids. It's a crocodilian who attacks people with a giant tail and smashes them into the ground so much that they legit turn into a fine mist. It then, rather than eating normally, sniffs up the vapor of the prey, which is just wild. It's just, yeah. So obviously, the tail and the snoot need to be the key elements of this design. Also, at this point, there really are quite a few crocodilian Pokemon, so we can really play with the silhouette to differentiate it. With the torso really scrunched and shortened so much, and the arms pulled up super high, I like that it almost looks like it has arms as ears, like it would run around and the arms would just kind of like flail about. Okay, let's meet Pulverile, the Tail Strike Pokemon. This extremely bizarre crocodilian never opens its mouth, and instead utilizes its powerful tail to pummel its opponents into submission. Researchers are uncertain if Pulverile is even able to open its mouth at all. In order to eat anything, it hammers its massive tail into the meal so aggressively that it eventually turns the food into a fine mist, which it then inhales with its prominent nose. The ability is Iron Tail, which boosts the power of tail-based attacks. I mean, that makes perfect sense. And the hidden ability is Moxie. Sandy has Pulverile launching Cypher Squad grunts back with ease, allowing you to continue onward. You really are thankful to all of the townspeople who are giving it their all to save this town. When you reach the Chaos Pyramid with a handful of Cypher Squad members blocking the front door, Moose and Cordelia leap into action, each with a new Pokemon at their side. Okay, so this line started out pretty adorable with Bitty Bat, our little vampire bat guy, but then it got a little bit disturbing with Sproingut, who was partially split in half, and now we're really pushing things with our final stage based on the Manananggal from the Philippines. It's the top half of a torso flying around, which is just really messed up. Obviously, we can't do all the guts and viscera like hanging out normally, but some curved bits give the suggestions of a rib cage, and doing a spine like this, like it isn't too gruesome, I think. It turns the whole lower body into one big splayed out mouth, which is disturbing in its own way. Okay, let's see who Moose is training. This is Fangal, the Torn Pokemon. Few Sproingut are able to fully give into their undead appearance and become this monster. Wrapping itself around prey, it feasts on their life essence until they drop from exhaustion. Fangal soar high above the land in hopes of spotting their next meal, making them particularly difficult to train and control. Researchers have no idea what happened to this Pokemon's lower half and jokingly guess that it may be blindly wandering around the Hoax region. The ability is Strong Jaw, which increases the power of all biting moves, and the hidden ability is Infiltrator. Moose has its swooping down and knocking out some Cypher Squad grunts. Next up, Cordelia uses her new Pokemon. Yes, Cordelia had little Nom-Bomble way back at the start of this adventure. Its burning hunger gave it the fire typing too when it evolved into Nom-Bomble, but now it is fully consumed. This line is definitely based off of the Yeti and Abominable Snowman a little bit, but it's mainly the Chenoo from Algonquin myth. Chenoo they're super warm, their bodies are super warm, so we're playing that up with the hungry flame spinning into this intense vortexy twister. They also have lipless mouths with exposed fangs, so I wanted to get that in, but I also pulled those icy teeth down into this weird icy lump. That's a stylized version of a heart, since one of the ways to dispatch a Chenoo is to destroy its icy heart. So smushing all those things together, we get I think this is a pretty solid design. And one of the things that I love about the Chenoo is how they aren't always treated as like purely monsters. In some of the stories, there's some nuance there, which I tried to reference in the decks. Okay, let's check it out now. This is the terrifying ice and fire type, Abominam, the hungry Pokemon. This unfortunate creature has become completely consumed by its fiery hunger. Abominam are rarely aware of their surroundings and are only motivated by the promise of food. When fed thoroughly, the flames burning within shrink in size, and Abominam is able to come to its senses. For a few fleeting moments, they are thankful, kind, and compassionate. The ability is Flash Fire, so that means it's immune to any fire type damage, and instead that will boost its own fire type attacks, with the alternate abilities being Gluttony and Immunity. It follows Cordelia's lead, and they start kicking butt. In fact, Moose and Cordelia work together and clear just enough of a path for you, your sister, and Professor Pines to reach the door to the pyramid structure. Professor Pines pulls out his lockpicks and works on the door, and a few moments later, you are inside. The interior is a nightmare of a labyrinth, with floating staircases twisting this way and that. Luckily, it's mostly devoid of Cypher Squad members, as they seem to have all been called to stop you from getting inside. But there are still plenty of unstable Pokemon like Zomboard, Atmostratus, Leviathan, and Seismite that are standing in your way as you try to ascend the structure. The three of you are actually feeling quite exhausted. You're not sure how much more you can take, and unfortunately a small figure is blocking your way.
Glee, you again? This is all your fault!
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon battles aside, I think it may just be time to punt this little jerk right off the side of this flying pyramid.
Wait. I'm not here to stop you. None of this is what I had in mind. That Ultra Beast was just supposed to increase my psychic abilities. None of this craziness was supposed to happen. I swear. Now there should be more reinforcements coming, so you three go ahead and I'll hold them back. Oh, and here.
Glee tosses a glittering bag filled with a good amount of potions and revives, before letting you proceed and standing their ground against whatever may come. You climb the remaining twisting stairs as you hear a raucous battle begin below you. Just ahead is the top of the pyramid where a final showdown is waiting.
William, I should have expected you would do something stupid like bring a couple of kids with you to try and bring me down.
Ford, you've got to stop this. Having this ultra wormhole open like this is tearing the region apart.
That's the point, genius. While I was trapped on the other side of this portal, I came to realize that this dimension has had it too good for too long. I befriended an Ultra Beast that showed me the beauty in chaos. I'm just sharing that beauty with others.
But you're hurting people and Pokemon.
Oh, young one. I don't expect you to understand.
What I don't understand is how I should be related to such a cuckoo banana pants psycho. You should be working together with your brother, not trying to destroy his home.
Listen to the kid. I mean, look at these two. We used to be twins just like them, working together as a team.
Well, perspectives on teamwork shift when one twin pushes the other into an ultra wormhole and traps them in the chaos dimension.
You have to know that was an accident. I've spent all these years trying to wrap my brain around your research so that I could bring you back. I'm not your enemy here. It's the legendary Ultra Beast. It's warped your mind.
Oh, Will. You understand nothing about our connection. Now, how about you clear out?
Wilford places his hands on his psychic headband and concentrates, causing a massive pillar of stone to swoop through the air at the three of you. Professor Pines and Maple topple out of the way and fall to a lower section of the floating staircase, while you roll directly in front of Wilford. Down below, you can see that Professor Pines and Maple have pulled out McFadden's invention that should shut down the portal, but you know you'll need to keep Wilford busy so they can make it there. You throw out your first Pokemon, and he accepts the challenge. Her Squatch comes out swinging, kicking, its massive legs arcing across the room, causing you and your Pokemon to both dodge out of the way. Luckily, being a grass and fighting type, you are able to take advantage of its severe weakness to flying type attacks and take it down. After that, Ford brings out the final stage of the Cockatrice line. Our first stage was a Cockatrice, our second stage was an Amphisbaene, and continuing with the Greek monster myths, we're pulling in the Hydra. Where Amphiphrae had a head-like tail made of electricity, this version basically continues that motif, but with a lot more heads. That also lets it kind of disguise its head as a tail. By this point, you know me probably. I'm a sucker for mimicry and deceptive biology. Basically, it tricks opponents into attacking the electric heads, which it can easily grow back, meaning that this tank will definitely need, it'll need one of the highest HP stats in the region for that reason. Okay, one of the hardest things about a Hydra design, or anything with a ton of heads or appendages or anything, is just making sure that it doesn't get too complex for a Pokemon design. This rides that line just a little bit, but having all the heads be essentially monochrome helps a ton. Alright, let's go ahead and meet the electric and dragon Zydrolt, the many-headed Pokemon. What appears to be a tail is actually this tricky electric type's head. The swarm of writhing necks and heads are comprised of pure electricity. Legends from the distant past tell that when one of Zydrolt's electric heads is destroyed, two more pop up in its place. The older this Pokemon becomes, the more heads it is able to conjure. The ability is static, so that means it may paralyze a Pokemon that it hits, and the hidden ability is Lightning Rod. It is beefy as all get out, and you need to take advantage of its weaknesses if you want any chance of getting through it. Even with ground, ice, and fairy moves, it takes quite a while to wear it down. When it falls, Ford is ready with a Leviathan, who flips about and uses its contrary ability to boost its own stats with some tricky moves. It chomps down on some of your team before you are finally able to feint it. After that, Ford has the final evolution to the convergent Togepi line. So, with a little bit of inspiration from the burrow-digging Chilean penguins, this mythical beastie is based off of the Cherufe. It's a magma monster that lives in Chilean volcanoes and appreciates a good human sacrifice from time to time. It's a pretty messed up bit of inspiration for something that is acting like the Togekiss line. The body plan isn't too tough. Again, it's literally just a grounded Togekiss, and it's positioned to look more like a very chunky penguin. The face is a little bit creepy, but overall this thing is really just very cute. It's very cute. And yeah, I don't know, dang it, if it wasn't just fun to draw the swirly lava textures. I mean, its belly is basically a literal lava lamp. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I like it. Okay, let's learn all about Roilophis, the magma Pokemon. By superheating the earth around it, Roilophis is able to swim through the ground while leaving lava tubes behind it. They prefer to live inside mountain peaks and help raise huge colonies of its young. Many fear this Pokemon and its destructive lava, but it appreciates any trainer who can deal with the heat. The ability is Drought, which turns the weather into harsh sunlight whenever it enters battle, and the hidden ability is Sand Veil. Ford's Roilophis plays defensively, setting up a sandstorm to raise its evasion and pelting your team with fiery blasts and earth-shaking quakes. The sandstorm chip is annoying, but you manage to get a water type in and deal with this bulky beast. After it falls, Ford follows up with a Gyarados. Its steel typing lets it ignore the sandstorm that is still raging, as it lashes out with sharp blades and brutal toxins. Your team is not in the best shape, but you manage to get Ford down to his 6th and final Pokemon. the evolution to Little Frozo. Okay, we're gonna get kind of weird with this one. So the first stage was based on the Dover Demon and how it maybe was just a misidentified baby moose. Now we're going to go full gray alien. And here's the thing. I am absolutely terrified of gray aliens, like phobia level terrified of grays. And while very particular to me, this design is based on a nightmare that I had. There were gray aliens, scary enough on their own for me, but one of them didn't really have a head. Instead, it had like a fancy collar on that caused a bunch of skull fragments to float in the shape of its head. A very funky visual that never really left my head, and so we're using it here. And just to keep it from being visually too terrifying for me, and to continue the moose inspiration from the first stage, it gets to be slightly quadrupedal with moose feet. Yeah, I know it's weird, but I don't know, it felt fitting for Ford's final team member. Okay, let's check out Voidro, the Galaxy Glass Pokemon. The psychic energy held within a Frozo eventually becomes too powerful for its small body to contain, and it explodes into a Voidro. Shards of crystallized space hover where its head should be, and even without eyes, it is able to perceive its surroundings. Their intelligence is unmatched amongst people and Pokemon, and their exact motives for working with a trainer are largely unknown. The ability is telepathy, letting it avoid any allies' moves, and the hidden ability is Aftermath. Its special attack stat is pretty ridiculous, and it knocks out one of your weakened Pokemon with ease. With only one Pokemon remaining, you turn the tables on Voidro. Dark and fighting type attacks finally knock it out, where Aftermath causes it to explode and damage your Pokemon. Your last Pokemon is just barely hanging on. But with his sixth Pokemon very much not able to continue battling, he stumbles backwards. However, Wilford doesn't look too upset.
Impressive. But now I think it's time for you to fully understand the power of Ultra Beasts.
He places a hand on his psychic headband and focuses, summoning something down from the sky. You take this brief opportunity to heal up your team as the legendary Ultra Beast follows Ford's gesture and lands before you. And we're finally here. Everybody has been asking from the beginning when we would finally get our Bill Cipher Pokemon. But y'all knew that we wouldn't realistically get it until the final fight at the end. So, this is actually going to be just one form for the Pokemon, as Wilford has it under control with some restraints. So the Pokemon itself is just the triangle and the eye, really, and then everything else, those are the restraints. We're tweaking Bill Cipher's design just a little bit by having it be radially symmetrical, so the eye is centered in the triangle, and it doesn't, innately have arms and legs. And to show off that the Pokemon is not in control, we're bringing in a Clockwork Orange imagery with the eye being held open like this. You may pick up on it a little, but these restraints are designed in a way that they will serve double duty with its other form. But for now, let's meet the bound version of Ilsifear, the Chaos Pokemon. Wilford Pine's constructed constraints that limit this Ultra Beast's power and remove its free will. Its crystalline body is crushed and stretched by the metal clamps, which are only barely able to contain Ilsifear. While it will reluctantly follow orders, it won't stop using its psychic abilities to project its manic laughter into the heads of everyone nearby. The ability is something new called Mind Cage. So psychic type attacks become steel type and have their power boosted by 35%, with the hidden ability being contrary. You can hear its crazed laughter inside your head. With no other choice, you battle it. Luckily, in this state, its attacks are greatly nerfed, though it is an annoying wall to get through. For a legendary, you actually only have one of your 6 Pokemon faint as you whittle it down, bringing it to just a sliver of HP.
No! How could this be? How could you? Unless, was that my mistake? I can't control chaos. I must let it be free. I must doom this whole dimension by doing this!
Wilford presses a couple of buttons on his mind control headband, and you see the containment device on the legendary disengage and fall off. The triangle spins about and shifts into a new form. Ah yes, time for Bill to be free. Now, we're taking the pieces from the restraints and turning them into a hat, bow tie, and limbs. And just because this is the king of Ultra Beasts, I wanted some type of simple crown, beyond just the hat. So, some gems will do the job. Not only that, but these gems are actually the source of the Beast Merge phenomenon. Ilsafir has shed them occasionally over the unfathomable amount of time that it has existed, and they just happen to be drawn to the Hoax region's native weirdness. So, the gems, they work well. Oh, I also wanted the body of this design to really look crystalline. I don't know, it just looks cool. I like how it looks. It still is flat, but crystalline. Yeah. Now, while I don't think it would ever be possible to catch this form, like it would just run away and break any Pokeball, let's go ahead and meet the normal version of Ilsafir, the Chaos Pokemon. UB Triangle lives in the liminal space between dimensions. It has control over Ultra Space and can create portals to any location in any dimension. It is unknown where Ilsafir originated from, but its awareness and observation of the multiverse has left its mind unstable. No known Pokeball can contain this Ultra Beast, with some suggesting its power may rival Arceus itself. The ability is something new called Reality Warp. So after damaging an opponent, they change into the type of the attack. And the hidden ability is Contrary.
Oh, it's good to be back!
You can hear Ilsafir's voice echoing in your head.
Oh, Fordzy! I really underestimated you! I didn't think you had it in you to just sap someone's free will like that. You all thought that I was the one corrupting old Sixer here. Oh no, turns out he and I had a lot more in common than even I thought. But let me just do this one thing first.
Using its psychic powers, it lifts the control headband off of Wilford and crushes it with its telekinetic powers.
Much better. Now, what dimension am I even in? Well, whatever it is, I like what you've done with the place. Not bad at all, Sixer. And you're the little trainer who's trying to stop all the fun.
The Ultra Beast focuses its eye on you. Glancing down below you, you see that the Professor and Maple have the device to plug into the wormhole and have almost made it to their target. So you will need to keep this King of Ultra Beasts occupied until they can do so. You attack Ilsafir, whose ability and moveset is different and unpredictable. Its psychic and dark type attacks have a good amount of coverage, and it knocks out a couple more of your team. Some sneaky bug type attacks turn out to be your secret weapon, and you again take Ilsafir down to extremely low HP.
You little brat! Guess I am still at pretty low power after being confined by Ford for such a long time. Even at a fraction of my power, you shouldn't be able to best me, you know that? Sixer, you got me into this mess, and you're going to help me out.
Ilsafir lifts Wilford's body with telekinesis and violently pulls him into a beast merge. Okay, let's get one final beast merge in here. So this is paying tribute to Bill Cipher taking over people's bodies and using them like puppets. This marionette look is fun, and it's a little bit like that part in the Matrix with the like floating in the air and the bullet time and the doing fancy kicks. So we'll be adding the fighting type here for this one. Oh, and I ended up doing just like a tiny shard of Ilsafir to cover up an eye, but I like the idea that most of the Pokemon has retreated up into Ultra Space, and it is just throwing the trainer at an opponent while it remains safe. Oh, and I forgot to say, what do you think of all these shiny colors? It was nice to use the Enraged Bill Cipher colors for them. I think they turned out pretty well. Okay, let's check out Beast Merge Ilsafir, the Puppet Master. Merging with this Ultra Beast is extremely dangerous. In this form, even the bound form of Ilsafir is able to control some of the trainer's actions. While the trainer is sometimes aware of their actions, often Ilsafir can use them more as a mere puppet, throwing their tethered body at opponents with no regards to their well-being. Its ability is Mind Control. Attacks which deal damage have a 20% chance to inflict confusion. Their combined form twitches wildly, trying to contain all of the raw power. It lashes out at you, and your 3 remaining Pokemon are struggling. One by one, they begin to fall. You start to doubt your abilities, but out of the corner of your eye, you see your family still making their way to the wormhole. You and your final Pokemon muster up the last bit of strength you have, beast merge yourselves, and knock out Ilsafir. Wilford separates and goes sliding across the floating platform.
Well, isn't this something? Bested by a brat. Goes to show what being stifled and mind-controlled can do to even the king of Ultra Beasts. This dimension blows anyway. Time for me to head back to Ultra Space, kick up my angles, and recuperate. But don't worry. I'm sure I'll see you around.
Ilsafir floats backwards and disappears through the open Ultra wormhole. Checking in on your family, Professor Pines and Wilford stumble in front of the wormhole, struggling with one another. The invention that should close the portal for good and restore the region is lying at their feet. Maple picks up the device but is unable to slot it into the portal with the 2 twins fighting in front of it.
You two, please, stop fighting!
Listen to the girl. We need to come together again. We need to fix this region.
You'll never understand what I need to do, and I will never stop in my quest to bring chaos to this world.
But what about me? What about them? What about your family?
You all? Who abandoned me? There is no family. There is only chaos.
I refuse to give up on you. But I can't let you continue threatening our home. I am sorry that I lost you for so long, but I promise to be at your side. I will fix you. But I suppose I can't do it here. Maple, you get that device into place. And you 2 twins, you keep looking after one another. I love you 2. You've really made this Grunkle proud.
Grunkle Will, what do you mean?
And without another word, Professor Pines throws himself and Wilford into the Ultra wormhole. They disappear in a flash of blinding energy. A moment of suction pulls the device out of Maple's hand, and it wedges itself into the center of the portal, powering it down. The center device hums and begins rapidly siphoning the excess Ultra wormhole energy from the sky. The floating pyramid sections begin slowly lowering to the ground. Maple stands speechless before the now sealed portal. The day is saved, but the 2 Pokemon professors are lost. And that concludes the main story for Pokemon Eclipse. I could not have done this without the help of my talented friends voicing all of the various characters. And of course, I am grateful to all of you who have watched and commented and discussed theories and built teams. I mean, I always read every comment, so that really kept me going. I actually would love to hear down in the comments who your favorite Pokemon ended up being from the entire region, or what your favorite part of the story was, or anything. Just say hey down there. Of course, I have to thank all of those who chose to support this channel by becoming Patreon members. I continue to be overwhelmingly grateful to all of you. You're just the best. From those in the starter tier to those of you way up in the champion tier. So that's Alphabloom, Angel, Cyberlord, Leo Vega, and Mason. You are all just phenomenal. And that concludes our super long mega marathon of all of Pokemon Eclipse. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters, especially Angel, Cyberlord, Mason, Alphabloom, and Leo Vega. Alright, I'll catch you in the next one. Later, nerds.